Okay, today I'm going to move over into Carveco Maker. If you go to the CNC website, under add-ons, there's a free trial to Carveco Maker for 30 days, and that's what I'm using here. What I did, created a new model, 12 by 12, resolution is cranked up to 2000 by 2000, but for what I'm doing today it won't really matter. And I'm using inches. Just create a new one. I'm going to go over to bitmaps, right click, import, and I have an outline of Texas here. Use bitmap to vector, reduce colors. It's got 248 shades of black and white. I'm going to pull that down to 3. Apply. If you go down here, left click, that'll set your primary color. Right click will set your secondary. And if you click on this link right here, that will link them, and you'll have a little arrow between the two, or a little line between the two. And go back up to the bitmap to vector. Make sure your color is primary. Create vectors. I can close the bitmap to vector window. Turn off the bitmap. And now I have my outline. But the way this one does it, it actually creates 2 outlines. So I'm going to select the inside one and just delete it. Now I have one vector. Go over and click transform. And I'm going to scale this. You can scale it up and down, left and right. You can move it, or you can scale it out. If you just hold the left mouse button, it'll scale that one corner out, keeping the aspect ratio. If you hold down the Alt key, it'll start scaling from the middle. Or you can go over here and type in what you want it scaled to. I want to scale it to 11. And since I have this maintain aspect ratio, it automatically changed that to almost 10.5. Apply that, get out, and there's my state. Now with that selected, I'm going to go down here to offset vectors. And this is another one. You've got interactive offsetting. Hover over your vector, your arrow will turn black. Click and hold down the left mouse button, and you can drag it out. Or again, this will tell you how far you drag it out, or you can just type in what you want. Click offset, exit out of that, delete that outside vector that it created the double of, and there's the state. Now for the next one, I'm going to go up here to vectors, import. I'm going to import the Texas flag outline. By default, this is all selected. And get out of it. I've got 3 separate sections as well as the star. What I'm going to do, select these 2, select the top one, select the bottom one, and I'm actually going to use the arrow keys and move this over. get it about where I want it. And then select this top one, go over here to transform. I'm going to drag this up, select off of it, select this bottom one, go to transform, pull this one down so that those two pieces now cover the state. I'm going to select this one, and this is not selecting the star. I'm going to bring this up, and while I have my left mouse button held down, I'm going to use my scroll wheel, see if I can get this to line up right with that bottom piece of the panhandle. Now I'm going to drag this one up like I did the other ones, and the bottom is already outside of the state. We'll select off of that, select the star, just move it kind of where I want it. Since I adjusted these, I'm going to move this separator down just a little bit. Okay. Not yet. Okay. Now I'm going to grab this inside vector. If you right click, you can copy and paste, or you can just use Control C and Control V. I'm going to copy that 2 more times, or paste it 2 more times. Now I've got 4 copies of this full border with one selected. I'm going to go up here and shift select this other one, go to vector, merge, intersect, select the full border again, select this bottom one, vector, merge, intersect, select the full border, shift, select this left side, vector, merge, intersect. Okay, now if I select that piece right there, it's just giving me this one piece of the flag. So I'm going to go into node editing. And I haven't done it this way before, but I'm just going to delete that whole thing. See what happens. Select this bottom one. Go over and hover over this until it changes to the crosshairs. I'm going to press C. Go down over here to this bottom node till it turns to the crosshairs. Click C. And now just this outside piece is selected. I'm going to press delete. So now if I select this, transform, I can move this down to where I want it. And there's only one there. Okay. Now I'm going to go into node editing. With that selected, I'm going to get it to hover over it, cut, go down to the bottom, cut. That's the only piece selected. I'm going to hit delete. So now I should only have one copy of, go over to the arrow, so I can select the vector. Okay, so I only have that one piece, and this is just a single line. So I'm going to select this one, go into node editing, cut this piece down here, and cut this right here. Only that this piece over here is selected. I'm going to hit delete. Now I have my flag inside of the state. Go over here so I can select this piece right here as an issue. That's just a weird remnant from the flag in the state. I'm just going to hit delete on that. Go over here. This is scale to fit model. And that is my star, my Texas state flag. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select this full inside border, shift, select that vertical, with shift held down, select that horizontal. I'm going to go over to toolpaths, and I'm going to profile this along the vector. Finish depth will be 0.06. My profiling tool is going to be a 90-degree V-bit. I don't need vectors, or I don't need bridges. My material is 3/4 of an inch. My 0 is up at the top. Click OK. I'm going to call this outline and calculate. In 2D view, I don't really care to see the toolpaths as I make them. I'm going to select the star, go to toolpaths, V-bit, selected vectors. I'm going to limit this to 0.08. My carving tool will be the 90-degree V-bit. I'm going to have a roughing tool that's 1/8 inch end mill. Click refresh on the depth. It would want to go that deep if I did not limit it. We'll call this star. That's what it would do. Turn that toolpath off. Select this outer vector. Go to toolpaths. Profile, and this I'm just going to use to cut it out. So the finished depth 0.75. My profiling tool is going to be that 1/8 inch end mill again. I am going to add ramping moves and a zigzag, and I am going to add bridges. Have 2 of them. It has put them here and here. I do not like that, but that is not the place to do it. Click Edit Bridges. Pull this one down a little bit. Make sure your arrow turns to that hollowed out triangle. Put it right there. And I'll name this cutout. And calculate. And again, I don't want to see it on this view. But what I will do is go to 3D view, turn off my toolpaths, and this is the order that I'm going to be doing it. I'll simulate that toolpath. That's just doing my outline. I'm going to mill the outline, stain this part blue, stain this part red, go with my star, right click, use the simulation control bar on this one. Here's my roughing pass. And here's my 90-degree V-bit. On the cutout, I'll just simulate the whole thing. And there we go. Now, since I don't like the way that looks, we'll go to beach, undo the depth color. Well, let's change it to beach first, and then I'll undo the depth color so you can see. On beach, that's what it would look like. Depth color is the black and gray. Hold down the middle mouse button, and you can turn it and see everywhere it's cut out. And I'm not seeing my bridges. And if you get it all crazy like this and you want to get it back flush real quick, just click View Top. Look at my cutout piece. Length is 0 inches and thickness is 0 inches. So let's go 0.1, 0.1. Right click simulation, delete. Just run all these at once, simulate all toolpaths. And there we go. That's interesting. If I go to the simulation, delete the waste material, shows me what I've got left. Which in and of itself isn't bad, but I really do need those bridges in there. And if you have bridges and go down to your delete waste material, it will not delete them. Alright, let me recalculate the toolpath and maybe that'll work better. Right click toolpath, simulate all toolpaths, and there are my bridges. One right there, and one right there. And what I was saying about the waste material, you come down to simulation. This right here is delete waste material. I can pick this to be deleted, but if you notice it's connected, the whole thing goes away. So Control Z. If you ever want to take a screenshot to show a customer, if you just want to see what it looks like by itself, remember that the tabs will prevent it from viewing this as waste material outside. That's all I've got to do on that. Now, if you select toolpaths, what I've done is I've taken the rapid rate from Gcode, which is what I'm using to run my long mill, and I've actually run a couple files giving me the exact time. So based on these two numbers here, I took the machining time that it originally gave me, the machine time it actually was, divided those, put those in here, and got this time to about equal the time that it really took. So based on those numbers, machining this should take about 4 minutes. Now there is a tool change in here, so obviously that would affect it, but it'll tell you about how long each piece takes. Close that. Save the toolpaths. What I'm using is UGS Gerbil inch, and the one thing it will not do after I went through and figured out how to make Gcode respect the Gcode stuff that I was wanting to do, getting the touch plate working. You notice I've got a V-bit, an end mill, a V-bit, an end mill. It's two different tools, but using UGS Gerbil inch, you get this error. That post-processor doesn't support tool changing. So the easy way to fix that is to save the toolpaths to a separate file. I like to append the toolpath details just because. And we'll call this Texas channel. And it's not the Alamo flag. Click save. It doesn't look like it did anything, but it did. And then you can open up that folder and you see it's got all the different Gcode files. And these will run individually on the long mill. You just don't get the tool change option. I think I've asked if there's an update coming or if there's another post processor to use, and I say that way because I actually responded to a post that was marked resolved or answered. I may have to go back and do that again, but this will at least get the piece cut. And what I'd like to note on this is, in dealing with these vectors, the ability to cut and to perform your Boolean operations on them, to join them, this down here is a lifesaver if you have open vectors. that you need to close. That vector right here and this vector right here are open vectors, but profiling toolpaths don't need them to be closed. So it's really nice to be able to close, your straight lines where you want them closed, and close things on a curve, especially when you get into some of the more detailed images. But that shows how I pulled in a bitmap, reduced the colors, using bitmap to vector. We linked these colors so we get both the black and the gray of the outline. Scaled it, offset it, pulled in a flag to overlay, created a few different copies of what I wanted to be the outside. We used the Boolean intersect under vector, merge, intersect to get each of the pieces, and then I ended up discarding most of it, but that was the image that I had pulled in. So we've got this 1, 2, 3 vectors for our outline. So we just simulate that one. Let me clear this first. Use the simulation control bar. You can see what it's going to do to and the cutout was the offset, and the offset will be smoother that's why I like to get that inside vector just kind of traced out. But if you'll notice down here, it gives a zigzag to ramp down so that this can get cut out. And I could probably make my depth of cut a little bit bigger, but this works for demonstration purposes. There are my 2 tabs, and it's done. And the star would have been done before that, but we've already seen that. And there we go. Little venture into Carveco Maker. Very nice program for some of the more advanced artistic, I guess, ways of doing things. Carbide Create is free. Its features are nice for a free program. They do work. I'll still use it, but this gives me greater control over toolpaths, or at least something that makes more sense to me. The vectors as well, or the vectors as well as bitmaps, makes it really nice. So this is definitely something I'll continue with, and we'll see where we go from here. Until next time.